Picture this, a world so still, so hushed, that even the air seems to hold its breath. That's where I find myself most nights, tucked behind the chipped counter of the Willow Creek Inn, waiting for something, anything, to break the silence. My name's Seraphina Jones, and at 23, I've already got a life that feels like it's been mapped out in pencil, easily erased, but somehow permanent. I've been married to Ethan Jones, my high school sweetheart, for 2 years now. He's 25, a mechanic with a heart bigger than the engines he fixes, always coming home with grease smudged under his nails and a smile that's equal parts exhausted and real. We've carved out a little existence in a modest apartment in this sleepy town, barely making ends meet but holding on to each other like that's enough. Or at least I thought it was. My days, or rather, my nights, revolve around my job as a receptionist at this small, weathered hotel on the outskirts of town. The Willow Creek Inn isn't much to look at, believe me. The neon sign out front flickers like it's on its last legs, buzzing faintly as if it's begging to be put out of its misery. Vacancy. It blinks, though most nights, that's more of a promise than a lie. Step inside, and you're greeted by a lobby that's seen better days. Decades, probably. The carpet is a faded burgundy, worn thin in patches where countless feet have shuffled through, dragging their stories with them. There's a lingering scent of old coffee, bitter and stale, that clings to the air around the front desk, mixing with the faint mustiness of a place that's been forgotten by time. At night, when the world outside dims to a whisper, the silence in here is almost oppressive, broken only by the occasional creak of the building settling or the distant hum of a car passing by on the lonely highway. I've always been a night owl, so the graveyard shift suits me just fine. It's usually just me, a chipped mug of lukewarm coffee, and the glow of my phone screen to keep me company. The routine is predictable to a fault. Check in the rare late traveler, usually a weary trucker or a lost soul with nowhere else to go, scribble their name in the logbook, hand over a key with a forced smile, and then settle back into the quiet. I scroll through social media, read snippets of news I don't really care about, or just stare at the grainy security monitor showing the empty parking lot. It's mundane, but there's a strange comfort in it, like I'm holding down the fort while the rest of the world dreams. I'm not completely alone here, of course. There's Marla, the day shift receptionist who's always got a piece of gossip to share, whether you asked for it or not. She's got a knack for turning the smallest detail into a full-blown scandal. Her voice dropping to a conspire. It's just past 11 p.m., and the stillness of the Willow Creek Inn feels heavier than usual tonight, like the world outside has forgotten this place exists. I'm slouched behind the counter, tracing idle circles on a scrap of paper, when the front door swings open with a creak that jolts me upright. 2 men stride in, their presence filling the dingy lobby with an energy that doesn't belong here. I blink, caught off guard, as my eyes take them in. The first one, who introduces himself as Caleb, is tall, with sharp cheekbones that could cut glass, and dark hair swept back in a way that looks both careless and deliberate. His smirk, oh that smirk, hits me like a spark, making my heart stutter for reasons I can't quite name. The second Ryan is broader, built like he could lift the world if he wanted to, with a rugged charm that seeps from his scruffy beard and those piercing green eyes that seem to pin me in place, like he's seeing every thought I'm trying to hide. They're both in leather jackets and jeans, exuding a kind of effortless cool that feels alien in this sleepy town, like they've stepped out of some gritty, late-night movie. They approach the counter, and I fumble to pull myself together, smoothing my hair as if that'll hide the way my pulse is racing. They're checking in for a double room, and as I process their payment, I can't help but notice the easy way they banter with each other, tossing quips back and forth like they've done this 1,000 times. Ryan laughs, a deep, gravelly sound, and Caleb catches my eye, flashing that smirk again as I slide the key card across the counter. "Hope we're not too much trouble for you, Seraphina," he says, my name rolling off his tongue like a secret he's been keeping. It feels too intimate, too personal, and heat creeps up my cheeks. I stammer something about it being no trouble at all, my voice tripping over itself, and I'm sure they can see right through my attempt to stay professional. They head off toward the stairs, their boots echoing on the worn carpet, and I sink back into my chair, my mind a mess of thoughts I shouldn't be having. I try to shake it off, reminding myself of Ethan, of the ring on my finger, of the life we've built. I'm married, for heaven's sake. I've got no business letting my thoughts wander to the way Caleb's voice lingered on my name, or how Ryan's gaze seemed to strip away every layer I've put up. I force myself to focus on the stack of paperwork in front of me, scribbling numbers and names as if that'll anchor me. But my mind keeps drifting back to them, to that magnetic pull I felt in their presence, something I can't explain and don't want to admit. About an hour later, just when I think I've wrestled my thoughts back under control, the door... It's around 12:30 a.m. now, and I'm still behind the counter, trying to bury myself in the monotony of sorting receipts, when I hear the soft thud of boots on the stairs. My head snaps up, and there's Caleb, sauntering into the lobby like he owns the place. He leans casually on the counter, that same smirk playing on his lips, the one that's been haunting my thoughts since he first walked in. His eyes lock onto mine, and I feel that familiar jolt, like a current running through me. "Hey, Seraphina," he drawls, his voice low and smooth. "Just wanted to say thanks for being so... accommodating." There's a weight to the way he says it, a hint of something more that makes my stomach twist. He straightens up a bit, still holding my gaze, and adds, "We've got some drinks and music going up in the room. Why don't you join us for a bit? Just to chat, have a drink. You look like you could use a break." I freeze, my mind screaming that this is a terrible idea. Every sensible part of me is sounding alarms, reminding me of Ethan, probably fast asleep at home right now, trusting me without a second thought. I can picture him, sprawled out on our worn-out couch after a long day at the garage, his steady breathing filling our quiet apartment. He doesn't deserve this, me even considering stepping out of line. But there's another part of me, restless and hungry for something beyond the endless nights at this desk, that's whispering to say yes. It's just a quick visit, I tell myself. No harm in a few minutes of conversation. I'm bored, curious, craving a taste of something different, something alive. Before I can stop myself, the word slips out. "Sure." I grab the desk phone with shaky hands and dial Hank, the night security guy who's usually dozing in the back office. I mumble something about needing a quick bathroom break, my voice tight with the lie, and he grunts an okay. My heart's pounding as I step out from behind the counter, following Caleb up the creaky stairs. Each step feels heavier, like I'm walking toward a line I know I shouldn't cross, but I keep going anyway. We reach their room on the second floor, and he pushes the door open, gesturing for me to step inside. The room is dimly lit, a single lamp casting long shadows across the walls. Empty beer bottles clutter the small table by the window, and a Bluetooth speaker hums with soft rock, the kind of music that feels like it's meant for late-night confessions. The air is thick with the sharp tang of cologne mixed with the faint bite of alcohol, wrapping around me like a fog. Ryan's there, sprawled on one of the beds with a lazy grin, and two other guys, Jace and Marcus, I think Caleb mentioned earlier, lounge on chairs near the table. They all look up as I enter, their faces lighting up with warm, welcoming smiles that somehow make me feel both at ease and on edge. "Hey, Seraphina, glad you could make it," Ryan says, his deep voice rumbling as he gestures to an empty chair. "Grab a drink, relax." I perch on the edge of the chair, my hands clasped tight in my lap, nerves buzzing under my skin. Marcus hands me a cold bottle, the glass slick with condensation, and I take a small sip, the bitter taste grounding me for a moment. They start talking, sharing stories of their road trips across state lines, wild nights in dive bars, and close calls on deserted highways. Their laughter fills the room, infectious and raw, and I find myself loosening up, chuckling at their antics, feeling a warmth I haven't felt in ages. It's like I'm seen, really seen, not just the tired girl behind the hotel desk, but someone worth listening to, worth noticing. The minutes slip by, and I'm caught up in the flow of it all. The music weaving through their voices, the room growing smaller with every shared story. Caleb shifts closer at some point, his knee brushing against mine as he leans. It's nearly 2 a.m. now, and I'm slipping out of that dimly lit room on the second floor. My heart hammering so hard, I'm sure it's echoing through the empty hallway. My skin feels too tight. My mind a tangled knot of guilt and raw, jagged fear. What have I done? I can still feel the ghost of Caleb's touch, the heat of the moment lingering like a brand I can't wash off. It wasn't just a drink or a laugh, not by the end. It was a dance too close to the edge, a whispered exchange of looks and subtle grazes that turned into something more, something I can't even name out loud, but can't stop replaying. My uniform feels wrinkled, out of place, as if it's screaming my shame to anyone who might see me. I pause by the mirror in the hallway, my hands trembling as I try to smooth the fabric to pull myself together. But I can't look at my own reflection. I don't want to see the person staring back, the one who just crossed a line I swore I'd never even approach. My eyes stay down, fixed on the faded carpet, as I force my legs to move. I make it back to the desk in the lobby, the silence down here heavier than ever, pressing against me like a physical weight. Hank is there, slouched in a chair near the security monitor, his grizzled face turning toward me as I slide behind the counter. I mumble a quick thanks for covering my shift while I was away. His eyes narrow, a flicker of suspicion crossing his weathered features. "Took you long enough," he grunts, his voice low and rough, like he's chewing on gravel. "Where'd you disappear to?" I force a smile, the kind that feels like it might crack my face, and shrug it off with a casual lie about needing a breather. "Just needed some air," I say, my voice thinner than I'd like. He doesn't push, but his gaze lingers a second too long before he turns back to the grainy screen, and I'm left wondering what he's thinking, what he might have noticed. I settle into my chair, pretending to busy myself with the logbook, but inside, I'm unraveling. My mind keeps dragging me back to that room, to the low hum of music, to the way Caleb's voice dipped when he spoke, to the charged air that seemed to pull me in despite every warning bell in my head. I can still feel the brush of his hand, the unspoken invitation that turned into a quiet, stolen moment. Nothing overt, but enough to leave me shaken, enough to make me sick with regret. Every word we exchanged, every glance, plays on a loop. And I hate myself for how much I felt in those fleeting seconds, for how much I wanted to stay. I'm drowning in the memory of it, in the betrayal I've woven into my own story. Desperate for some kind of anchor, I pull out my phone and type a quick message to Ethan. "Love you," I tap out, my thumb hovering over the send button for a moment before I press it. I stare at the screen, waiting for a reply that I know won't come. He's asleep by now, probably curled up in our bed, completely unaware of the storm raging inside me. The silence from his end feels like a judgment, even though I know it's just the late hour. I set the phone down, my chest tight, hoping those 2 words might somehow cleanse me, might erase the weight of what I've done. But they don't. They can't. From upstairs, a faint burst of laughter drifts down, muffled but unmistakable, coming from the direction of Caleb's room. My stomach twists at the sound. Are they talking about me? Was I just a passing game to them, a momentary distraction in their endless string of late-night adventures? The thought stings more than I expected, sharp and bitter, mixing with the guilt until I can't tell one from the other. I try to push it away, to focus on the desk, on the mundane tasks that are supposed to ground me. But my mind is a runaway train. What if it's creeping up on 5 a.m. now, and I'm a wreck, slumped behind the counter at the Willow Creek Inn, counting down the last agonizing minutes of this endless shift? My body aches from the tension I've been carrying for hours, my shoulders tight like they're braced for a blow that hasn't come yet. Emotionally, I'm spent, drained to the core, like every thought and feeling has been wrung out of me and left to dry. All I want is to clock out, drag myself home, crawl into bed next to Ethan, and pretend this night never happened. I want to bury it deep, lock it away somewhere even I can't find it, and just forget. The clock ticks louder in my head than it does on the wall, each second a hammer against the fragile shell I'm trying to hold together. Just a little longer, I tell myself. Just get through this. Then I hear the front door creak open, and my stomach drops. It's Marla, showing up early for the day shift, her sneakers squeaking on the faded carpet as she breezes in with that familiar, unstoppable energy. She's all smiles, her voice bright and chatty as ever, like the world hasn't just tilted under my feet. "Morning, Seraphina. You look like you've been through the ringer. Rough night?" she chirps, tossing her bag behind the counter and leaning in close, her eyes sparkling with that gossip-hungry glint I usually find endearing. Today, though, it feels like a spotlight I can't escape. I force a smile, my lips trembling at the edges, and mumble something about it being a long shift. But she's not buying the half-hearted act. She props an elbow on the counter, tilting her head as she studies me. "Come on, Spill." I saw the log. Some real lookers checked in last night. A whole group of them. Hot guys, right? Tell me you at least flirted a little. Give me something juicy to start my day. Her teasing hits like a punch, and I try to laugh it off, but the sound comes out brittle, cracking in the middle like thin ice. My throat tightens, and I can feel the heat rising to my cheeks, betraying me in ways I can't control. Marla's brow furrows, her playful grin fading into something sharper, more curious. She narrows her eyes, and I know she's picking up on the cracks in my facade. "Hey, you okay?" she asks, her tone shifting to concern. But there's an edge to it, like she's already sniffing out a story. I open my mouth to deflect, to throw out some meaningless excuse, but before I can get the words out, Hank shuffles by on his way to the back office, his boots dragging across the floor. He doesn't even look at me, just mutters under his breath, loud enough for us both to hear. "Disappeared for too damn long last night. Can't be doing that." His gruff words hang in the air, heavy and accusing, even if he doesn't mean them to be. Marla's head snaps toward me, her eyes widening with intrigue. "Wait, what's he talking about?" "Where'd you go?" she presses, her voice dropping to that conspiratorial whisper she uses when she's onto something. I feel the walls closing in, the lobby shrinking around me as my pulse starts to race. My mind scrambles for a lie, anything to throw her off, but I'm too frazzled, too raw. "Oh, just stepped out for a bit. Needed a break, you know," I stammer, my hands fidgeting with a pen on the counter, the plastic slick under my sweaty palms. But I can see it in her face. She's not convinced. My guilt must be painted all over me, screaming louder than any words I could muster. I'm a terrible liar, always have been, and right now, I'm unraveling under the weight of what I've done, of that stolen moment upstairs that's still burning through my thoughts. Then Marla drops the bombshell, casual. It's morning now, the kind of pale, washed-out dawn that feels more like a punishment than a fresh start. I've just left the Willow Creek Inn after a handover with Marla that felt like walking through a minefield. Her eyes kept darting to me, searching for cracks, even as the early checkout rush distracted her with a flurry of guests and paperwork. I could barely string two words together, my voice flat and hollow, as I muttered something about needing to get home. She nodded, but there was a lingering suspicion in her gaze, like she's piecing together a puzzle I'm desperate to keep scattered. I didn't wait for her to ask more questions. I grabbed my bag and slipped out the door, the cold morning air hitting my face like a slap. I'm driving home now, my hands gripping the steering wheel so tight my knuckles are white. The early sunlight is harsh, slicing through the windshield and stinging my tired eyes. I haven't slept, not really, not after everything that happened last night. My mind is a fog, thick and disorienting, replaying every moment, every misstep, as the familiar streets blur past me. I feel like I'm moving on autopilot, my body going through the motions, while my thoughts are trapped in that dimly lit room on the second floor, caught in the heat of a choice I can't undo. The weight of it sits heavy in my chest, a stone I can't dislodge, and every mile closer to home makes it harder to breathe. When I finally pull into the parking lot of our little apartment complex, the sight of our building, squat and unassuming, with its peeling paint and crooked mailbox, feels like a punch to the gut. This is my safe place, or at least it was, the little corner of the world Ethan and I built together. I sit in the car for a moment, engine off, just staring at the cracked pavement, trying to muster the strength to go inside. My hands are still trembling as I grab my bag and force myself out, the gravel crunching under my boots like it's mocking my every step. I unlock the door and step into our apartment, the familiar smell of coffee grounds and Ethan's cologne washing over me. It's quiet, save for the soft clink of a spoon against ceramic coming from the kitchen. I round the corner and there he is, Ethan, just waking up, his hair a mess of sandy waves as he yawns and pours cereal into a bowl. He's wearing an old t-shirt, the one with the faded logo from his favorite band, and there's a sleepy warmth to him that makes my heart ache. He looks up, catching sight of me, and a smile spreads across his face, genuine and unguarded. "Hey Sarah, how was your shift?" he asks, his voice rough with sleep but so full of care that I nearly break right there on the spot. I open my mouth to answer, but the words catch in my throat like shards of glass. I can't look at him. Not really. Not with the weight of last night pressing down on me. I mumble something vague, barely audible, about it being a long night, my eyes fixed on the scuffed linoleum floor. He doesn't push, just nods and goes back to his cereal, the crunch of it filling the silence between us. I mutter that I need to rest and shuffle toward the bedroom, feeling his gaze on my back, soft and unsuspecting, as I disappear down the hall. I collapse onto the bed, still in my uniform, the fabric wrinkled and carrying the faint scent of that room, of cologne and beer and regret. I stare at the ceiling, the cracked plaster blurring as my eyes burn with unshed tears. My mind won't stop, won't give me a moment's peace. I keep seeing flashes of last night, the way the shadows played across Caleb's face, the charged silence before everything shifted into something I couldn't control. I replay every mistake, every second where I could have said no, could have walked away, could have remembered the man waiting for me here. But I didn't. I let myself fall into that moment, let myself be swept up in a rush. I don't forget to subscribe, like, and comment if you enjoyed this story. This will help us create more engaging stories for you.